Hi, I'm Amber.
Hi, my name is Ella Wall. I'm 17 years old.
Hi, my name is Billy, and I'm pansexual.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm 19 and I'm gay.
If you don't know what a pansexual is, don't worry. I don't fuck pans. I know that sounds obvious.
Hi, my name is Isaiah, and this is my coming out story.
So many people are like, oh, do you fuck pans, man? It's very like, I'm here, they're there, and it's like, whoop.
Hi, my name is Rose, and I'm bisexual.
Hey, my name's Rasheen.
Hi, my name's Olivia. I'm 17, and this is a conversation about how I came out.
I knew I was bi since year 8. However, I felt like it was a bit of a trend to come out in year 8 because everyone was doing it. So I was like, right, I don't want to look like I'm following a trend, a sense. So I kept it quiet. And by the time year 10 came around, I knew that exams were approaching and that I would need to get a few things off my chest.
I came out late in high school, and I remember I was really stressed about it because in high school you're like constantly stressed about all the things that are going on, all your grades, and just knowing that I was gay and I had these feelings underneath at the same time as all this other stress, it was just too much, and I like constantly was always worrying and all that stuff.
Coming out, in my opinion, was something I had to do eventually. I knew eventually I had to do it because not saying it was not sustainable. That much I knew. But I could have come out in a better way than I did, which is by accident when I was drunk, Christmas 2016.
Well, in high school, everything seems to happen in high school. Being, gay is a popular slur. They'll just call anything gay. So instantly you kind of think that's negative, and you don't want to be the thing that everyone's associating with the negative thing. So even if you did think you were, you wouldn't want to be. So you kind of question yourself and go, no.
I realised that I was bisexual when I was about 12 to 13 years old. It kind of, as cliche as it sounds, started when I remember seeing the Avengers movie and seeing Scarlett Johansson and kind of realising that, okay, I guess I like girls as well as boys now.
It had been with me. I'd known that I was not straight by any metric since I was 10, basically. So I'd known that at the very, very least. And I didn't know how to say it because I have autism. And so I'm not very good at talking myself. I'm not used to. I'm happy now because I've realized that if you just go for it, it's fine. But back then, I had no idea how to do it. No idea. And no one really knows how to explain in the very simplest terms. It's okay not to be straight. It's okay. You can be yourself. No adult growing up most of the time anyway has said it's fine. It's okay. So I didn't know exactly how to approach it myself. So
I was living abroad at the time in a country where being gay was not really as supported. So I wasn't too clear on the subject, and I didn't even realise that being bisexual was really a thing. And then I moved schools and I met a girl there who kind of helped me just realise that this was kind of who I really was and that I did like both boys and girls and I was bisexual. Then I moved back to the UK where I was surrounded a bit more by the LGBT community. It was all really new to me, so it was quite confusing at the time because then I started to second guess myself and thought maybe I'm not this and it is just a phase, or maybe I'm something else that's a bit more complicated. But I met another girl there who, again, really helped me realise that I was bisexual, and we ended up going out for a couple of months. Then, I grew up more emotionally and mentally.
I came out in year 7, didn't really have much of a choice. I was being bullied at school, kind of, and people were starting to find out about it. And I was seeing this guy. He decided he didn't want it anymore. So he decided he was going to tell everyone in the school about it. And it all came down to like one day there was this boy and we were in a cupboard like putting away the PE equipment. It was really random. He said something to me and I literally just lost it and hit him so hard. Obviously I got excluded from school, kicked out, all of that. Yeah, obviously my parents found out that way because the school had told them what they'd been saying about me and all of this stuff.
In my friendship group, it was in high school, in year 8. This was an all-girls school, by the way. I remember it was basically through a group chat, how one of my friends, she came out as bi. It kind of just got us all like thinking about it. Like I think before then, we hadn't really considered that it was like a possibility, like to, like not be straight. Honestly, like a lot of us figured it out around the same time, I think.
I think I first worked it out, even though it's not a thing you really work out, it's something you more discover. But the first moment I considered it, that it could be a possibility, was when my best friend came out as bi. First she came out as bi and then kind of moved over more to lesbian. And I think because sexuality is rather a fluid thing, that's quite common for people to move around a lot. Unfortunately, she got quite a lot of hate at high school. It was really hard for her. But both me and my best friend stood with her against a lot of people. Like the things they'd say in changing rooms and stuff, like, oh, I don't want to be near her, like when I'm getting changed. Those horrible things, it was really hard. And it kind of made me very scared of coming out, having to see what happened to her in my high school. And I think that's why I waited until I left high school.
Then, like a couple of other of my other friends are also bi. I stuck with that label for a while. But then I found the term pansexual and I read a few different definitions. I think it might be, some people probably interpret it differently, but gender wasn't really the focal point, I guess. It's kind of hard to describe sometimes. I try my best to not make it a big deal with most new people, just because I don't think it should be. Like, I think it's just a part of who I am.
I came out to my family. Really, all members have been really supportive. Some were supportive immediately. Some it has taken a couple of years or maybe a couple of months to truly come to terms with it. At the moment, I'm really happy where it stands with my family, and hopefully when I'm older, then I can approach the subject again and really discuss it like adults, and hopefully it will have a really positive outcome to the story.
Well, when my family found out, my mum seemed okay with it. She got on with it. But then when it started to become more real, she didn't like it. When I had my first boyfriend, she didn't like it. And she threw me out. I went to go and live with my dad for a bit. And then he threw me out as well because I was getting into like gangs and smoking and all of that and drugs. I ended up living at my boyfriend's for the last 2 years, and I've only now just got a flat by myself. So I don't really speak to any of my family about it.
Picture this. Wimbledon, 2016, it's cold, everyone's miserable. 2016 is still happening, we want to be over because it's 2016. But I'm particularly miserable, and I'm drinking a lot because we're having fun. All my family are there, some friends too. And we're at this fancy French restaurant called Côte. We're all having French food, French wine too, the French love their wine. So I'm having wine and champagne, and I drink a lot. My sister has this drawing box thing with her. She loves to draw. She's like, at the time, 3, she's drawing. I don't even remember why we were writing things down, but I wrote, I'm bisexual, I'm autistic, and I don't know how to say it. Look at me go. So my mum looked down and I was like, okay. She looked at it. My dad looked at it. I could have thought of a better way of coming out. I know that. I really know that. But at the same time, part of me was just relieved that it was just kind of over. I'd said it. My family are not the types of people to be like, ooh, how dare you. They're not those types. In fact, my uncle's gay, so I really should have been more relaxed about it, but I didn't know how to say it because when you're growing up, it's the highway or no way.
I didn't come out to my family because my mother comes from Ireland, so Ireland is still steeped in Catholicism. My grandma has made herself very clear on some topics. My dad he's open, but I don't really want to. I've always been very scared to tell him because he's very important to me, and he just sometimes, I think it's fine to tell him, and then he'll say something, and I think maybe not so much.
My mum she used to kind of like look through my texts and stuff, which honestly wasn't the best. I remember her kind of sitting me down one day and saying like, oh, do you have anything to tell me? And for some reason my mind went to worst case scenario, and it's weird that I thought of that as worst case scenario. Yeah, I was just like, oh, she's found out I'm not straight, guess I'd better admit it. So yeah, I kind of told her, and yeah, I don't think she actually understood, and I'm not even sure if that was what she'd like read or whatever, but I just kind of ended up coming out. But yeah, it wasn't a very positive experience, to be honest. I mean, it's a lot better now, thankfully. Quite a difficult topic to talk about with her. Yeah, I don't even know how much she knew about the LGBT community or like what she thought of it, so it was kind of just a bit nerve-wracking all in all. She definitely did give me the whole, oh, it's probably a phase thing, which was really frustrating because I'd thought about it for so long. Like, it's not just something you wake up and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, like, it was just a bit frustrating, really. Like, oh, I told you this and that's your response.
I went to the the student services. We talked about it for weeks, and then eventually said, well, you've got all this stress, you've got to get it out, so you've got to tell your parents. It will help you so much. So she said, I'll call them and to tell you something big, so they can sit down and prepared, and you can tell them that you're gay if you want to, and if you want, you can just tell them something else, like you got a bad grade. And I went home and I was very stressed, but I was kind of excited because finally I can try to get this past me. And then I got home and they hadn't been phoned, but I didn't know that. And my mum was angry at me because I hadn't done something. But I thought she was angry at me because the school had phoned her. So I was getting really worried. And then they were about to head out. And I was going, wait, haven't you been called by the school? It was like, should we have been called by the schools? Are you in trouble? I burst into tears and I'm gay. And I was an absolute wreck. And it wasn't brightest day. But my mum took it quite well. She said, we're not angry at you or anything. And my dad was confused. He didn't really know what to think. He probably didn't think his son was going to be the one that was going to turn out gay. But like the next day, everything seemed to just turn back to normal pretty much. And life continued. And that was a problem off my chest. So
with my dad, it was a bit easier just because, I guess it was like, oh, I've gotten over this one obstacle, like... Yeah, I think she did prompt me to tell him. Like, she was like, oh, are you going to tell him? But I don't think she would have, gone and told him instead of me. Like, she did want it to come from me, which is, I think, positive. It was quite random, really. Like, we were just in my local park and, yeah, I think we were just about to head home and I was just like, so, Dad, I'm not straight, I think. Something along those lines. And just, yeah, I think I used the term pansexual. He didn't understand it at all. So I was like, you know what, I'll look it up, see if there's any definition that kind of, encompasses what I think the term means for me. And yeah, we just kind of muddled through it a bit. I think he was okay with it, really. Maybe just a bit naive is all to the idea.
Now, I suffer with anxiety and struggle to talk in any situation. I thought it'd be a good idea to message my parents instead of speaking to them in person. I messaged my dad first because I don't live with my dad and I thought it'd be easier. He thought I was pranking because I was at school. It took me a while to convince him that I was actually telling the truth, and he was proud that I came out, but and like happy for me and stuff like that, but it was obviously quite hard to tell what his real feelings were over messages. But I believe my dad, so it's cool. My mum, I can't remember if I did it the exact same day or the day after, but I remember it's clear as day. I was in my science class next to my cousin who actually came out as gay 2 years before me, and she basically was just helping me like type it, get through it. My mum was happy, she was surprised, But she was all right with it. She loved the idea. She was happy. She always tells me that as long as the person makes you happy, we do not care who you're with. That made me smile and want to cry with happy tears. Then my mum decided to tell my nana. She was happy. She didn't care. She was just happy that I finally was able to be me. They were all happy for me. They like, we all joke around about it and everything like that, and I know that they have made no offences, and I feel like I'm quite a lucky person that I've never actually really experienced any hate before. It was probably the best way for me to have done it. So yeah, that was one of the best days actually so far of my life. Because now I don't have to worry about faking it.
With my parents, it was just kind of an ongoing process of them learning and trying to understand gradually. I remember the first time we were on holiday somewhere, and I'm not sure the context exactly, but my dad made a comment about, you know, like, oh, maybe if you get like a husband in future, but then like on the end he added like, or wife, and that just kind of made me really happy, because it was like, oh, he's actually, you know, he actually kind of accepts it more, I guess. It was kind of like a confirmation that he's, you know, supportive. But yeah, nowadays it's actually, it's just normal, really. It's nothing weird about it, and that's really, I think that's just a really positive thing.
The real interesting one was when I came out to my parents, because my parents have quite different views on a lot of different things, and I remember it was one evening, I'd been texting my friends and they were like hyping me up and like, you can go for it, you can do it, just go and tell them, they'll be fine with it, they're your parents, they're going to support you. So in my PJs, I walked into my mum's bedroom, and my dad, they were both just sitting in there reading their books, as you do when you're middle-aged, and I was like, guys, I have something to tell you. And mum was just like, sure, what is it, sweetie? And I was like, I'm bi. I remember looking at my mum, he was like, and she just kind of smiled at me. And my dad just kind of, he looked blank. He looked more confused than anything. He was like, what do you mean? You could literally see the phrase, what do you mean, was written all over his face. And then we kind of sat down and we talked a lot. I think my dad went out the room at some point. Unfortunately, well, me and my dad never really talked a lot before. We'd just never been that close, I find. And so he struggled with it quite a lot. He didn't talk to me. He wouldn't talk to me about it. He would just near refuse to accept that was me and that was part of me. And it did take some persuading to say that I am still your daughter. I'm still the same daughter you've always had. And this affects my life, and in no way do I mean it to affect yours, and it shouldn't affect yours negatively. And I think once he figured that out, he came around. When I did get a girlfriend, it was really nice for him to actually like talk to me about it. I'm pretty sure when I told my sister, she was just like, okay. I think it's so normal in our generation that it didn't mean anything to her. She was just fine with it. It meant no difference to her. It made no difference to her. It doesn't affect her in any way. She's like, yeah, that's cool.
I told a few of my friends and some of them were surprised. My cousin didn't think I was the type of person to like both male and females or just females. She thought I was 100% straight because I'd made no suggestion in the past apart from to one friend who, when I went to come out to her, she was the first person I came out to. I didn't even have to tell her. I literally just went, I had something to tell you. She looked at me and smiled and went, oh my God, I knew it from the beginning. And I was just happy that I didn't actually have to say it in a way. She was a true friend and she helped me throughout everything, and I helped her with her coming out story. She was just ecstatic that I was finally able to go, oh yeah, I'm bi now. So that was one of the happiest moments.
I was quite open with coming out to friends because my friends seemed like pretty decent people. I'd hang out with most of my friends were girls, and people would go, oh, are you going out? And I'd literally just go, no, I'm gay. And then you just like, you know. I think I was quite lucky because I came out, it was quite near the end of the years, and everyone had matured enough not to be completely idiots about it. But it just felt so much better just to be myself.
It was maths, year 10, GCSE. And we were all like, hey, do you have a crush on a girl or anything? Who here would you date? And I was like, actually, guys. And this was in the middle of maths, by the way. I actually do kind of also like boys as well as girls. And they took it remarkably well. They weren't surprised considering how I act and how I think. But they were way more chill about it because, like, I guess when they thought about it, and when one of their friends was actually, not straight, that it was something to actually consider for once, not just something hypothetical, but actually real. They were very supportive.
Mostly girls were more supportive than guys, really, because most guys think, oh, he's bi, whatever, he's going to come and touch me or do whatever. So, yeah, it's kind of annoying because guys are, like, different around you after that.
I came out to my friends about 3 or 4 years ago. They were all really supportive, which kind of shocked me in a way because I didn't expect them all to be so okay with me being bisexual. Some of them are definitely more religious than others, so I was really cautious when I told them, and it kind of scared me to open this new thing up about myself because I've not always been very open to them. But it's kind of people more from outside asking questions in that scared me more than anything, and having to come out over and over again to new people that you'd met that just didn't expect it, and they were like, oh, you're bisexual, and I'd be like, yeah, I don't think I come with a tag, but yeah, sure, that is me and here I am.
I think the main thing about coming out really is to come out when you're ready. Don't let anyone else take that away from you. Like, it's your thing. I think you should take, like, don't let anyone come out for you. Just make sure you do it yourself, because coming from someone else is really hard.
So my tip to people wanting to come out or scared to is to be yourself. If people can't accept you for who you are, then that's their problem, not yours. I know it will hurt if your family or your friends, especially your family, don't accept at first, but most of the time they will come round and accept it. If you're one of those unlucky people where one side of your family is accepting and the other isn't, then if that first side of the family can't accept you, then screw them, because they clearly don't care. As long as you love yourself and are happy with yourself, then that's all that should matter.
So from my own experience, I guess it would just be, don't let anyone kind of push you into coming out. Like, yeah, it's always a better experience if it is kind of your own decision to, tell people who you trust or, who you think should know. So just don't feel pressured into it at all or anything like that.
It's never going to be, it should be easy, fundamentally. It should be just one of those things, like having blue eyes or being blonde or, being left-handed, one of those things that you just kind of are, rather than your earth-shattering identity.
When you're coming out, the less you make it a bigger thing for yourself, the less you worry about it, the easier it will be. So if you're just openly passing conversation, oh yeah, I'm gay, oh yeah, I like this guy, oh, isn't David Tennant hot, and all that stuff, it'll just be easier and more natural. Then if you do build it up, then it becomes a big thing for everyone. Maybe I don't know. If people don't like it, then it's not their problem. Just be yourself and enjoy your life. There's no point being somebody you don't want to be.
It should be easy, but it isn't. And these two facts that we have in our heads, that it should be easy, but it isn't. These collide, and it's hard, and it's going to suck. But if you can find someone, and I mean anyone, be they a friend, a family member, or an author. Authors were really useful to me. When I was feeling most sort of, aware that I couldn't tell anyone about my sexuality, I would read. Mostly depressing books about dictatorship, but I read a lot, and that really helped me. And I imagine authors as sort of people like me, people who sit and ponder constantly about big things, and they try to communicate those big ideas in the simplest form with words. I mean, how do you take something as big as love or death or war and then try and transcribe it to a few sentences? so that anyone can get it. That's not easy. And I was trying to do the same thing with my sexuality. How do I explain who I can love in a few short words to the people I love? It's not going to be easy.
Don't put yourself in a box unless you're sure of that box. When people ask you, just say, well, I don't know yet, so you don't have to know either. Or just put yourself under the umbrella of queer, because that covers a lot of things. Be who you want to be, but only be that person once you've figured out who that is. Otherwise, you're going to encounter a lot of errors, and that's okay, and it's okay to make mistakes, but it happens. So know yourself first before you tell other people.
Just find something, find anything, find an outlet to sort of explore your sexuality, because your sexuality is a journey and it's not going to be an easy one by any metric, but if you can find an outlet, any outlet to communicate who you are to somebody, or to in writing or in art or anything, do it. It's a baby steps, really. Find something private that you can sort of speak to or write to. Figure out the mess or complexity that is your sexuality, and then go from there. If you want to truly come out, you need to figure out who you are first before you take the first step out of the closet.
Maybe to just tell them and accept that some people might not be as open-minded as other, but most people are now. My friends were really good, and I think hiding it, they're probably going to know something's up, and they're probably going to figure it out over time.
Like, tips for people who are in the situation of trying to figure out who they are or coming out, that you're not alone, and it took me a while. It was really hard realising that I wasn't alone, because it felt like I was for so long. So it's just good to know that you are supported, and to have a supportive family is really helpful too. But you're not alone. There is always people out there who will help you, whether it's your family or your friends or just people on the internet, which was really helpful to me to realise. So yeah, that's my tips for people. Oh,
Thank
God.
you so much.
Sorry.
Oh, bless.